CTV News with Maya Johnson.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Since the beginning of this year, there have been 9 suspected femicides in Quebec. Now there are growing calls for the province to pass a law aimed at preventing intimate partner violence. Sweeta Rassi reports.
I'm very worried about the situation of women.
Standing outside Quebec Premier Christine Fréchette's Montreal office, Quebec Solidaire co-spokesperson Ruba Rizal has a message for her.
Protect women from dying in the hands of their partners.
The call is urgent. In just 4 months, 9 women have been killed in the province. The latest suspected femicide was just last week. A 27-year-old man was charged after his girlfriend was found dead inside a condo in the Ville-Marie borough. Now there's an open letter backed by 600 signatures from artists and advocates calling on the province to take action. What they want is the adoption of what they call the Gabi-Renault Act, a law which allows a woman to find out if her partner has a history of violence. It's similar to Claire's law, which has already been implemented in other provinces. Gabi Renault was 43 years old when she was found dead in her apartment. 45-year-old Jonathan Blanchette was charged with first-degree murder. Blanchette has a history of violence and numerous arrests on his record. The group is also calling for a Ministry of Women's Rights and Equality, along with more resources.
We need more workers, more frontline workers, and we also need new shelter.
We reached out to Fréchette for comments, but we were directed to Security Minister Yann Lafernière's post on X, where he writes, Premier Christine Fréchette has repeatedly confirmed her commitment to doing more to protect women with the bill inspired by Claire's law. The group wants this issue to be a top priority once the National Assembly reconvenes on May 5th. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
Meantime, Quebec's new Premier, Christine Fréchette, unveiled her new cabinet this afternoon. As expected, there's a mix of old and new faces. Angela, there are some changes, but most of the top positions have stayed the same.
That's right, Maya. And though some are losing their cabinet seats, and they include Geneviève Guilbeault, Caroline Proulx, and Jonathan Julien, Gilles Bélanger, one of the first to support Fréchette in her leadership race, is also out. Now, Fréchette has settled on 29 ministers, 17 men and 12 women, and she is promising to breathe new life into the CAQ with this new cabinet in the lead-up to the election this fall. She outlined several priorities, including the economy and cost of living and fixing aging infrastructure, as well as protecting Quebec's identity. Here are some of the top positions. Yann Lafernière is now the Deputy Premier. He also remains Public Security Minister, but the title has now changed to Internal Security, and he keeps his responsibility for First Nations and Inuit relations. Bernard Dranville, who ran against Fréchette in the leadership race, is now Super Minister, responsible for economy, innovation, and energy. Éric Girard remains Finance Minister and adds infrastructure to his responsibilities. Simon-Jolin Barrette remains Justice Minister, but loses Canadian relations. Instead, he's adding constitutional affairs to his portfolio. Now, a number of other ministers have held on to their positions, and there are also 5 new faces in Fréchette's cabinet. As well, a few familiar faces are back in cabinet. François Bonnardel is reinstated after being ousted by François Legault. He'll serve as Immigration Minister and Government House Leader. And Lionel Carman is back as Minister for Social Services and the fight against homelessness. Now, Bonnardel is now responsible for keeping Fréchette's promise to reopen the Quebec Experience program for 2 years in order to grandfather in those immigrants who were in Quebec when the program closed.
So in the next days, next week, we'll be, I hope, ready to announce that how we will reopen the program Expérience Québécoise for those immigrants.
Of note for the province's Anglophones, Christopher Skeet keeps his responsibility for relations with English-speaking Quebecers, and we have a full list of Fréchette's cabinet on our website, ctvmontreal.ca.
All right, thank you very much, Angela. The arrival of Christine Fréchette as leader of the CAQ and now Premier has given the party a boost in the polls. It's come mostly at the expense of the Liberals. Meantime, the PQ would be firmly in majority territory if it would drop the referendum talk. Matt Gilmore has details.
It's exactly the kind of impact Christine Frechette and the CAQ would have been hoping for.
Even though she's from within the government, she's been there for many years, she has been able throughout this leadership campaign to present herself as a change within the party.
According to Leger, Frechette's CAQ is up 4 points to 17% in voting intention since she became premier, with the rise coming mostly at the expense of the Liberals, who are down 5 points to 28%.
The reason there's a transfer between the Liberals and the CAQ is that they're both vying for this electorate that is more concerned about economic uncertainty, pocketbook issues, but don't want a referendum.
Sébastien Dallaire says it's too early to know if this is the beginning of a trend or a temporary bounce for a fresh face. But he says a stronger CAQ is good news for the Parti Québécois.
Stealing some of the Francophone vote away from the Liberals is a good thing for the electoral map itself as well, because the CAQ remains fairly weak, even though Christine Frechette makes them rise.
But according to the poll, none of this would be an issue for the PQ if the sovereignty issue was taken off the table. When asked who they'd vote for if Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon abandoned his promise to hold a referendum in the next 4 years, the results changed dramatically. In this hypothetical situation, the PQ surges to 39% in voting intention, firmly in majority territory. But for the PQ leader, it's a non-starter.
The current score would lead us to a majority government. But the question I'm asked with this Léger poll is, why won't you say the exact opposite of what you think so that you get a super majority? In which case, my answer is obvious. No, I don't want to do that.
And with the next provincial election still 6 months away, a lot more can change. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
And we'll have more on this latest poll, the cabinet shuffle, and much more coming up with political analyst Raphaël Melançon a little later in the newscast. In national news, Prime Minister Mark Carney has asked some high-profile Canadians to be part of an advisory council on U.S.-Canada trade. They include former Quebec Premier Jean Charest, former Conservative leader Erin O'Toole, and FTQ President Magali Picard. Mexican authorities say the shooting that left one Canadian woman dead and 13 people injured was not spontaneous. Today, Mark Carney offered condolences to the victim's family and thanked Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum for her personal attention to the shooting. And police in Toronto are now patrolling the scene of a massive pile of ice blocks set up by Drake. The Canadian rapper hinted the ice conceals the date of his next album release, which led to people smashing and melting the blocks, some of which fell. We'll have more national news on CTV News at 5:30.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for a limited time.
Well, Lauren, it was nice to see the sunshine out today.
Yes, we did have a cold start, maybe inspired Drake's album title, Iceman, I don't know. Yes, this morning we did see some sunshine. We started our day off at 0, feeling like -2 early this morning, hitting a daytime high of what we're currently sitting at 9 degrees. Still on the cooler side, we should be typically around 12. Overnight, we are calling for cloudy skies, and we do have a 30% chance of some showers. It's looking like later this evening, and we could be dealing with it just after midnight as well. But by tomorrow, we will see that system push eastwards, and we will be dealing with mostly cloudy skies. We will see a little bit of sunshine just before sunset, so that's, I guess, some good news. And the better news is that going into Thursday, we are anticipating a beautiful day with lots of sunshine. So the days are just improving as we head closer to the weekend. 13 degrees on Thursday with lots of sunshine there. 13 as well on Friday, holding on to a mix of sun and clouds. And then we head closer to the weekend, where we will see lots of sunshine. We can see 14 degrees and mostly sunny skies, and then 17 on Sunday. So it's looking like the temperatures are increasing. We're seeing more sunshine in the week ahead, and for the most part, it looks like so far, with tonight as the exception, that 30% chance of showers, we're not looking at much rain in the next week. So that's great.
Coming up, the STM tells riders to get ready for new routes.
Menswear provided by Ernest. Elevate your style with Ernest.
A new CAQ cabinet, a new crisis for the Quebec Liberals, and a new poll looking at how voters are feeling about all the parties. Joining us now is political analyst Raphael Melançon. Good to see you, Raphael.
Good evening, Maya.
So let's start with Premier Christine Fréchette's cabinet. Any big surprises for you here?
Well, I would say Bernard Drinville as the new Super Minister of Economy and Energy. Of course, he's replacing Christine Fréchette herself, who became the province's new premier. This is, to me, surprising because, you know, Drinville doesn't have an economic background. So for him to take over those responsibilities without necessarily having the pedigree for it, I'm questioning here the credibility he will have as the new economy minister. Also, François Bonnardel going back to cabinet as minister. That's a surprise as well. That's something we did not necessarily expect. You know, he was ousted. He was involved in the Saclick scandal when he was transport minister at the time. So lots of question marks here as to he's coming back as immigration minister this time. So he will be replacing Jean-François Roberge, who keeps the responsibilities of secularism and the French language, but leaves immigration to François Bonnardel. So interesting nomination, interesting appointment here. And I would say there's another one, a backbencher we did not expect to see appointed minister today, but there's a new minister in Montreal, believe it or not, Maya, for a party that doesn't necessarily always consider Montreal interests. It's interesting to see Karine Boisvert-Roy appointed as the new Minister of Housing. Of course, we know that it's a pressing issue in the Greater Montreal area, so of course she knows it well. And she has worked back when she was elected at the municipal level. She worked a lot on housing, so she might be a good appointment here for Christine Fréchette.
Okay, I want to go back to that new Léger poll that we referred to earlier in the newscast, showing the PQ would have a supermajority if Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon would put aside his plan for a referendum in the first mandate. But he says again today he has no plans to change his plans. What do you make of this?
Yeah, forget about it. That's not going to happen for sure because, I mean, yes, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon made it clear on social media, but also let's not forget that sovereignty is the PQ's raison d'être. So it's the first point in their constitution saying we are here to make Quebec a sovereign country. So of course this is never going to happen, especially considering that Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon has been unrolling his whole strategy for a third referendum on sovereignty for months now. So it's way too late for him to backtrack. It's way too late for him to backtrack on this.
Right.
But on the other side, what you see as well, the poll was conducted over the last weekend, and it was just days after what happened within the Liberal Party on Bill 96. And that poll, that specific Léger poll, shows also that the Liberals are losing 8 points, Maya, among non-Francophone voters. So that's very interesting because it shows already that Charles Mignard's new stance on Bill 96 has an impact with Anglo voters in the province.
Yeah. And I just want to cut in for a second, Raphael, because the PQ actually made an attack ad, including some audio from CJAD. So here's a part of that ad, and we'll get back to Milliard in a minute.
He said he would renew the notwithstanding clause for Bill 96, and things have kind of blown up in his face.
Moi, je veux protéger une grande partie de la loi 96. Je suis en faveur de ça.
Non, levez-vous, 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 s'il vous plaît.
Now he started walking back.
So the entirety of that video is on social media. It's about a minute long. We just saw maybe 15 seconds there. And I guess the point is, with about 30 seconds to go, where does Charles Milliard go from here? Because he's trying to keep the Anglophone base happy, but also trying to appeal to the Francophone voters he needs to win.
Well, the thing, Maya, is in politics, you can't satisfy everyone. If you try to satisfy everyone, you're going to end up satisfying no one at all. So, of course, the main issue here, the main challenge for Charles Milliard is to reconnect with Francophone voters outside of the Greater Montreal area. If you want to make gains and eventually get a majority in the next election, you can't do it solely with Montreal, the island of Montreal and the Greater Montreal area. So if you want to do that, you need to reconnect with those voters, and he needs to take a stance that will be clear and reassure Francophones with his nationalist approach. So I think it's a path to victory for the Liberals, but you have to sacrifice at some point on some aspects, of course.
Walking a fine line there. This election's going to be very interesting, Raphael. I look forward to analyzing everything going on with you when it comes in the fall. All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it as always.
It's already thrilling, Maya, so we'll be there to analyze it. See you next time.
Still to come, the last-minute changes to the ceasefire agreement between the U.S. and Iran. Well, the Montreal Canadiens are getting ready to hit the ice for Game 2 of the playoffs against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Kelly, we know for some fans, hockey is like a religion, and there are fans getting ready to ask a higher power for a little help.
That's right, Maya, and there's no better place than to do it than right here. This is the Saint-Jean-l'Evangelist Cathedral in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, and check this place out. This is where 400 fans packed in to the pews to cheer on the Montreal Canadiens for Game 1 on Sunday night. It's worth noting that this is actually a consecrated and operating cathedral. So Sunday there was a mass, there was a baptism, and then there was a hockey game all in the same day. And what a game it was. It was a big one. The Habs stole a game on the road, thanks in large part to a hat trick by Juraj Slafkovsky to secure the win in overtime. Defenseman Caden Gooley saying, "We're excited to accept this challenge and feeling the playoff energy." Well, that's something that he described as addicting. Well, players the Montreal Canadiens have far less experience in the playoffs than the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Montreal Canadiens, the younger of the two teams, the scrappier of the two teams that we saw after Game 1. Some saying that the Canadiens are in the heads of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Your goal when you're on the road in the first round of any playoff series is to at least come out of it 1-1. And for the Canadiens to not only have a game in hand right now, but to get that in the first matchup is huge, because that's such a feeling out period. You know, teams are seeing what they're going to put together. What does this style of playoff hockey look like? And so for the Montreal Canadiens to be able to answer the bell against Tampa, I think is huge. And for them to be in their heads, I think that's a great way to put it. Tonight, I expect for Game 2 for Tampa to play desperate hockey. If they go down 0-2 and now have to come in to the Bell Center for the following two games, the Canadiens' momentum will continue to take them there.
Now, if you're in downtown Montreal, there is still time to get here. You will have to fight traffic a little bit. There is room for 600 fans inside the cathedral. They serve food, they serve drink, body and blood of Christ, of course. So we will be here all night long with the fans in the cathedral. And yes, hockey is a religion in this province. Maya?
Let us pray, Kelly. All right. Thank you very much. The new bus routes in Vaudreuil, the West Island, and parts of northern Montreal have been finalized in time for the launch of the next line of the REM. Almost 80 routes will be modified as of May 18th. The goal is to encourage commuters to take the REM. The STM will increase frequency on some routes and make sure buses are running extended hours on weekends and evenings. The STM has a route simulator on their website so people can plan ahead. Turning to international news now, Donald Trump has ordered the U.S. military to extend the ceasefire with Iran that was due to expire tomorrow. It comes after J.D. Vance called off a trip to scheduled talks in Pakistan, and Iran has not said if it will take part. A judge has delayed ordering OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma to pay the U.S. Justice Department $225 million. She wants victims of the opioid crisis and their families to be able to watch the hearing in person, so it will take place next week. The British royal family is leading commemorations today on what would have been Queen Elizabeth II's 100th birthday. There were several events to mark the occasion. Queen Elizabeth died at the age of 96 after a 70-year reign. We'll have more international news on CTV News at 5:30. Up next, an age-old find that's making waves north of Quebec City.
I'm Andrew Johnson at BC Wildfire Boot Camp. Hauling gear up this hill, one of the many tests facing new recruits.
Good job, you guys.
I've never worked so hard for anything in my life.
Which critical skills can make the difference between life and death? Tonight on CTV National News and ctvnews.ca.
A new archaeological find has many in the scientific community buzzing about a place in Quebec that's considered to be a world treasure trove of sea fossils. Researchers from McGill University discovered a new species of ancient jellyfish. It was a soft-bodied, tube-shaped creature with a ring of tentacles, as you can see, and they're closely related to modern jellyfish. The fossil was found in Saint-Joachim, about 50 kilometers north of Quebec City.
In this sort of fairly deep sea area with fairly few water currents and a relatively low oxygen content, which makes it very suitable to preserve these types of soft-bodied organisms. And it's probably just this sediment accumulation over time that was able to cover them and therefore allow them to become fossilized.
The fossil has been dated to 450 million years ago. Okay, so back to the present day and present temperatures. What have we got, Lauren?
Well, it's not going to be as cold tonight as it has been the past few nights. Let's put it into context here for you. So our overnight low will be 4 degrees. That's actually what our daytime high was yesterday. So yes, it would be cold to go out, let's say, in a shorts and t-shirts, but you know, we're seeing that mercury climb, and we see that especially over the next 24 hours. In addition to that 4 degrees, we do have a 30% chance of showers. Now, it depends on where you are in the region. You could see a passing shower or two. We're not expecting a significant rainfall, so that's good news for those who are worrying about the rising level of water. Now, tomorrow morning, we start the day off with cloudy skies. Our wake-up temperature being 5 degrees. Our winds will be calm throughout the day. We're looking at southeasterly winds at 15 kilometers an hour in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, but we will hit a daytime high of 14 degrees, and typically we should be around 12, so we are seeing those temperatures climb, and I know I'm happy about it.
So am I. Thanks, Lauren. That's it for us. Mitsumi will be here at 6 o'clock with the latest local news, and now here is Sandy Ronaldo with CTV National News. Have a good evening.